Okay, everyone, let's get started. Welcome, and thanks for joining us for the Where Will Your Communications Be in the Next 5 Years informative webinar. Please allow me to introduce today's presenters. Joining us from our partner group is Matt Hostaki, Channel Partner Success Manager at Wildix. And from ET&T, our very own CEO, Mike Bubernak. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Aaron. Appreciate that introduction. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see everybody's here today. I don't want to delay too much longer. Just give you a quick little rundown on ET&T. Why partner with ET&T? Well, we've been in business a little over 54 years. I think we know what we're doing. Real excited about being the vendor for over 200 companies that have been with us for 10 or more years. Real excited and proud to have served over 4,500 businesses. And what makes us unique and the reason most of our customers do business with us, it's a local call, local support, no waiting in lines from some overseas rep when help is needed. It's one call to ET&T, and we really appreciate your business. I want to turn it over to Matt and let him tell you all about Wildix. I'm super excited about Wildix. Being in the business for over 40 years myself, I honestly can say I've never been more excited. So anyway, take it away, Matt.
Thank you very much, Mike. And thank everyone for joining us this afternoon. Certainly appreciate your time. So what I'm going to do here today is I'm going to go ahead and first share my screen with you. I want to tell you a little bit about Wildix. So Wildix has been in business since 2003. We started as a European company, came over to North America in 2016. We have a presence in over 11 countries. The presence are different headquarter sites. We have installations in over 165 countries worldwide. We have over 1.5 million active users. Actually, that's a little on the low side. I believe we're up just over 2 million these days. We're growing at an annual rate of 32%. We're a privately held company that holds zero debt. And that is important as a lot of our competition are public companies. They're traded, and unfortunately, they're not doing so hot right now. But with us, the point here is that we're a very solvent company. We're not a fly-by-night company. We've been in business for a really long time. As Wildix is a globally branded solution, this is what we can offer you. We were the first UCaaS company to embed and embrace WebRTC into our telephony and UCaaS solution. And that was back in 2012. We are browser-based, so there are no client installations. So that's the beauty of WebRTC. If you're not familiar with it, it is web real-time communication. So all you need is a browser, and everybody has a browser on all their different devices, tablets, laptops, cell phones, things like that. And the beauty of that is there's no client installations, no plugins, no downloads, nothing to manage and administer. BYOD mobile applications, remote worker ready. So as I mentioned, tablets, mobile devices, smartphones, laptops, you name it, you can use our product on it. Untethered and all-inclusive features on all devices. What you'll find out, and you'll probably hear me say this a couple times, but about 95% of all the PBX features are included in all 4 licenses. We do have 4 different, very simple licenses that basically separate the different premium features. And then we're 100% secure by design. We'll go into that a little bit more, and you'll hear me talk about this a little bit more in depth. But rest assured knowing that this solution is highly secure. We are secure by design, and we truly mean that. And we'll talk about that a little bit here moving forward. So Gartner named Wildix the #1 European UCaaS vendor for 2021. If you're not familiar with Gartner, think of it as like the Emmy or Grammys of the technology world. So this is a very, very high honor, a big feather in our cap. Just like to point that out. So what is the value of Wildix? So we have a flexible architecture. We'll discuss that a little bit more. We have a singular interface, which I'll be showing you. And then if you sign up for our demo with Mike and his team at ET&T, you'll definitely get to see the different interfaces. But I do have a slide showing the different devices that you can use with the interface and what that looks like. We are simple and untethered. Simple because we're browser based, so there's not much to actually using our product. Untethered because we're mobile. You can use our system anywhere. We have all-inclusive features that we just discussed, and we'll go into a little bit more in depth. Easy deployment and increased adoption. So this is really where Wildix can shine. So the ease of deployment comes from the browser-based and the WebRTC, and then some other things that we do as far as easy provisioning for devices that are basically plug and play. What this does is it increases adoption, and it also helps your IT staff minimize the amount of time and overhead that they're spending on, managing and administering a telephony solution. We can help you increase revenue and operational efficiency. So the increased revenue, we have something called Kite. It's a web-based tool that allows external parties to contact your organization for sales or service or whatever you'd like, straight from their browser. So all they have to do is click. They can call, they can chat, they can do things like video, screen sharing, file transfer. That's part of the WebRTC build, and this can help you close deals, more deals, and close them faster because you're giving access to your customers, real-time access to answers to the questions that they may have. And then, like I said, we're 100% secure by design. So everything in transport is going to be 100% encrypted. Almost everything at a restful state is encrypted. The couple things that aren't are virtually impossible to get to. I can tell you that we are HIPAA, GDPR, and ISO 27001 compliant right out of the box. So as I alluded to, you can see the different devices. We have a Mac here, we have a tablet, we have a smartphone, we even have the Apple Watch. And then you can see the phone at the bottom right is called the Supervision phone. So this is our big Android tablet type of phone, huge color touch screen, built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, things like that. But as you'll notice, it's a uniform user experience across all platforms. We even have single sign-on across all platforms as well. And for those mobile conscious customers, here's what it looks like from an iOS or an Android perspective, as well as the Apple Watch integration. So what you'll find out is you'll see that the interface is very similar to the one that you saw on the tablet and the Mac. And just a note here, things like BOF, those programmable keys that everybody's accustomed to on their phone, they actually travel in your mobile application here, which I've never seen in any other solution or application. And it opens up a lot of possibilities, but mainly it drives efficiency. The Wildix is powered by AWS. So that is the cloud provider that we have chosen to partner with. And what does AWS give us? Well, it is a highly robust, highly secure, and very turnkey solution. What AWS gives us are points of presence POPs worldwide. So wherever there's an AW instance, more than likely Wildix will have access to it. So where our competition might boast of having a couple data centers in North America or the United States or 4 data centers, so on and so forth, we have data centers wherever AWS. We have points of presence wherever AWS. And what that does is it gives you a closer point of connection, right? So it's going to decrease things like jitter and latency, the things that typically degrade call quality in VoIP solutions. The other thing you'll notice, you probably already looked at the different dots at the bottom of the screen, but you can see that we can scale up to 5 million users inside of what we call WMS Network, which I'll explain. But we can put 5,000 users on one PBX. We can have up to 1,000 nodes, node being a PBX. So 5,000 times 1,000, we get 5 million users inside of one network. The singular architecture that I hinted at before, what this means is that our software can run on a hardware PBX on your premise. It can be virtualized, and it obviously runs in the cloud, as we just talked about. The beauty of this is, unlike a lot of other software manufacturers, our software can run on any one of these environments. It's all the same, meaning our software doesn't change from a premise-based hardware PBX to a virtual to a cloud instance. It's the exact same. So you can mix and match environments depending on what your requirements may be. Meaning if you're in a place that doesn't have great bandwidth and you still want to use a PRI, you can use a gateway into a hardware PBX. You can even back that up to the cloud. And then if you have a different site, you can use a cloud or a virtual instance. And as I mentioned before, I would explain what a WMS network is. So think of a WMS network as an old school, if you used to connect different PBXs to act as one, very similar to that. What it gives you is a few different things. First of all, it's going to give you roaming profiles. It's also going to sync users and groups and access control lists, right? Or class of service that's going to sync across the network. You're also going to get your internal communication or extension to extension dialing free of charge. You can also set up the PBX to dial through a remote PBX, and you can also set the system up to be a hot standby. So you can have a hot standby and a hardware PBX that essentially backs up to the cloud. So an example I always like to give is, let's say, for instance, you have a customer here or a site here in the United States, but maybe you also have a site in Europe, South Africa, maybe somewhere in the islands in the Caribbean or something like that, right? Well, first of all, I'm sure you're aware that the long distance charges are going to be pretty high, right? Also, if you want said satellite site, let's say in the Caribbean, to be able to dial to North America, they're also going to get hit with those charges. Well, with the WMS network, you can have extension to extension dialing from a site in North America to the Caribbean completely free of charge. You can even program the system to where the folks in the Caribbean can dial through the PBX that's in North America in the United States. They can pull a local trunk with a local DID or caller ID information, and they can use that to dial out instead of using whatever local trunk and number they have down in the Caribbean. And they're obviously going to get hit with those long distance charges. So pretty interesting feature. I mentioned the active failover, so we can set this up to where the virtualized or the hardware premise PBX backs up to the cloud. We are the manufacturer of our all our hardware. So we have phones and headsets and things like that, which I'll get into here more in a minute. But I do want to show you this slide. You can start at the bottom right where it's a common area phone. The middle phone above it is called the workforce. I always like to call it the workhorse because honestly, about 80 to 90% of people are going to get that phone because it has a nice big bright color display, bunch of BLF keys or programmable keys for them. If you need a welcome console with a sidecar, a lot of those BLF keys, for the secretary or a person that's greeting everybody at the door, we have that all covered for you. And then I mentioned the supervision phone. We also have a vision phone. They're variations of a large Android tablet type of phone, that big color touchscreen, so on and so forth. As I mentioned, we have our own headsets. So we have mono, duo, wired, wireless, Bluetooth, DECT headsets. They're quality headsets. They have noise cancellation in the microphones. They also include the color lights on the side of the headsets, where it says green is available, violet means do not disturb, and red means on the phone. So great thing. I work from home. My wife likes to pop in and check and see if, hey, you want to go for a walk, dinner's ready, things like that. Well, she knows as soon as she comes in, she sees that red or that violet, I'm on a call, I'm in a meeting, don't disturb, right? So that's a really nice feature there to alert everybody if you are actually busy. Like I mentioned, we are the manufacturer of both the software and the hardware. The analogy I like to use is, think of Apple and Microsoft. Microsoft is the software provider for Windows, obviously, right? But they don't really make or manufacture their hardware. They rely upon third-party vendors for that. LG, HP, Asus, Acer, things like that, right? Where Apple, they have their own, iPad, your iPhone, things like that, and they're the manufacturer of the software. Whether you like or dislike Apple or Microsoft doesn't really matter, but the point remains that Apple does have an advantage because they are controlling the user experience. They're controlling the security. They're controlling the features they push out. They can control the patches that come out. They can control when they push out new hardware and new features, the same that Wildix does. The other thing that it gives us against our competition relies on third-party headsets and handsets like Yealink and Polycom. Well, that can open you up to security risks, as it's been shown that Yealink does send certain data over to China. Not the case with us because we are the manufacturer. We lock these things down 100% secure by design. Another point I just want to make before we move on from this slide, we have a full and robust set of solutions for you. So we talked about the phones and the headsets, but if you need wireless decked handsets, headsets, we have them. We have indoor bases, outdoor bases. We even have things like man down alarms and alerts on the different handsets. So if you're working in a nursing home, a manufacturing site, things like that, and you need one of these more robust wireless solutions, we've got you covered. If you're building out a conference room, we have things like the WizzyConf 4K cam and the PTZ cam. We have speakers and microphones, a full range of hardware solutions to build out your conferencing solution. Not only that, of course, it's going to work with WizzyConf and WizzyWebinar, what we're on today, but you're also going to have things where you're going to continue to be able to go into your Zoom meetings or your Teams meetings. If your vendors are using those things and you constantly do that, you have that ability to integrate with those as well. And then you also can see down, we have things like gateways and different switches that we manufacture. So we talked a little bit about the WizzyConf, which is our video conferencing solution. Because it's WebRTC based, probably the best and greatest thing about this, it's just a link. So anybody can join. And once again, 100% secure by design. Everything is encrypted. So the video is encrypted, the audio is encrypted, your chat's encrypted, the files you transfer inside, all encrypted, 100% secure. And what we're on now, which is the WizzyWebinar. So we have a webinar platform. We call it WizzyWebinar. You can see all the features, which I'm not going to go into today, but if you were looking to do some kind of webinar, if you're trying to do that marketing outreach, some kind of a program like that, this is a wonderful product. It's going to give you everything you're looking for, from recording your conferences to statistics to setting up, landing pages and custom URLs and different things like that. You can see the whiteboard was just on there. So it's a very robust solution if you're looking for a webinar platform. As I made a mention earlier on about WebRTC Kite. So what Kite is a Wildix business tool that kind of bridges internal and external communications through WebRTC. And what is that? So you can see our contacts page. This is on the Wildix website. You can go to the contacts and you can see this. It does things like pull in real-time status. So if you would like to set up a contacts page, contact us now, or even call groups like a sales call group or a service call group, you can actually set this up on your website. We can help you out with that, where you can just give your customers the ability to click to call, to click to chat, to do video, file transfer, desktop sharing, different features and functions like that. The beauty of this is because it's WebRTC based, they don't have to download anything, no plugins. Literally, you can do this on your cell phone. You can test this out. Like I said, go to our website on your cell phone, pull it up in any browser, click on a chat or a call. You'll get the screen where on the right-hand side there where it says Katrin Baker, you're going to get a screen like that, and you can start chatting, doing an audio call, video, so on and so forth. And that's what WebRTC Kite is. So in order to actually, get some true business intelligence, we have to, report on things, right? That's the only way we're going to truly manage and make true good business decisions, right? And in order to do that, you're going to need things like call statistics. So we have something called Xcarricle. So if you're using call groups and queues, we have the ability to report on that. So calls, chats, different things like that. You can see all the different queues, if your agents are available, if they're taking their calls, if they're rejecting calls, how many calls are answered, unanswered, different things like that. Don't want to get into it too far today. Just want to let you know that we have the capability to do some call center type of reporting and give you real-time access to statistics and reports through our Xcarricle. Wildix has a full range of different integrations. We have a web API and something called Tappy. If you're not familiar with Tappy, it's basically a telephony integration that allows you to do things like make calls, answer calls, call control, like putting something on hold, resuming a call. You can do different transfers with it. You can also exchange chat messages in certain instances. You can also see things like user presence or geolocation. You can also share your presence. So depending on the type of integration, that's what you can kind of expect out of Tappy. The big thing is here is because we are WebRTC based and it's all around integrations and APIs, we have more than likely have the capability to integrate into a current system that you may be using. And here's a cross section of some of the certified integrations and partners that we have today, where you can see we have an integration into Google, Salesforce, a whole bunch of different Microsoft products like Dynamics and CRM, Office 365. We have a great Teams integration, and you can see some other ones. By no means is this the full list. It's just a cross section of some of the more common integrations that we get asked about. Class Sound is our SIP trunking. It is a world-class SIP trunking solution. It's 100% secure. You can make and receive calls from 95 countries. I think that's actually up to about 102 or 103 by now. But you'll get things like the proper fax support, SMS capability. It's full Opus HD quality audio. Opus is basically the highest quality audio that you can get. There's full support, failover capability, so it's a world-class trunking solution that we use for our cloud instance. As I mentioned, we are 100% secure by design. I'm not going to put anybody to sleep by going through all the bullet points on the right-hand side. If you're an IT person, that's probably going to speak to you, and you can start seeing all the different things that we do to keep our system secure. But for us laymen, I'll start at the top right here where it says password requirements and security. I mentioned the single sign-on. So obviously that's going to do two things, which is going to increase the rate of adoption, because what's easier than clicking one button for Office 365 or Google? Most of your users are already logging into Office 365 for Outlook or their Gmail account anyway. The second thing they're probably going to do is log into their telephony or UCaaS solution in Wildix. So once they do that, single sign-on, one click, great. It's also going to increase security because it's no more, passwords and credentials on Post-it notes around their desk. You heard me talk about how everything is encrypted. So obviously we're going to talk about that. It's TLS encrypted for all of our traffic. And that is important to note, where some of our competitors, maybe their audio is encrypted, maybe their video is encrypted, but things like chat may not be encrypted. Things like file transfer might not be encrypted. Maybe their webinars aren't encrypted. Maybe the voicemails in transit aren't encrypted. Different things like this. Like I stated before, everything we have is encrypted in transit, and almost everything is encrypted at a restful state with us. The WebRTC architecture by design makes it more secure. WebRTC is a peer-to-peer type of communication, so it doesn't need things like SBCs and VPNs and things like that, which are relying upon third-party applications, third-party hardware, different data centers and things like that to actually get the signaling to go through. WebRTC kind of encompasses or encapsulates all this on its own. We also have things like DDoS protection, right? So threat intrusion, those man-in-the-middle attacks, different things like that. We have protection against that. And then no matter how secure your system is, you got to have system monitoring. So we have system monitoring in place, especially with AWS. That's part of the package that you get when you're using our cloud instance. It's going to give you some of that protection and the system monitoring. And you can use things like Zabbix, which is a third-party monitoring tool as well. And as I stated before, we only have 4 licenses. So we have a basic license for common area phones. These are unmanned devices. They're really there just for emergency purposes or to, kind of transfer internal calls from. The UC Essential license and the UC Business license, I always like to explain these as the UC Essential is going to give you a full-fledged UCaaS system, but for internal users. The UC Business is going to be for your business continuity and external users, meaning a UC Essential license will allow you to join things like a WYSI conference internally, but it won't let you schedule them. where a UC business license, you can schedule WYSI conferences, you can bring in external parties, the same way you schedule all your conferencing today. And then last, the premium license is going to lock some premium features like text-to-speech, speech-to-text, Xcaracle, CDR view, different things like that. It'll unlock those premium feature sets. So with that, I am going to hand it back over to Mike.
Okay, thanks a lot, Matt. That was great. It looks fantastic. Hey, Aaron, any questions out there?
Yeah, we had a couple similar ones. A few people want to know if they have multiple sites and multiple PDXs, do they need to transition them all at once?
Matt?
That's a fantastic question. No, you do not need to transition them all at once. I would say that best course of action is to get with ET&T, discuss what your time frame is going to be, your implementation period, and then what your requirements are. But you definitely do not need to do all of them at once. You can do one site at a time. Basically, what would happen is more than likely, as long as it's, you'd have to look at the specifics behind it, but more than likely you can just kind of forward a call off to a different number and have the system act in conjunction with the current system.
Great.
We got another attendee who'd like to know if they can have a mixed environment of both hard and soft phones running simultaneously.
That is a fantastic question. So yes, you most certainly can. And that's a great question that I did not mention with the licenses. With all the licenses outside of the basic, you get up to 10 different devices that any particular user can use. A device is a physical phone on the desk, any of the physical phones. It could be multiple physical phones if you're like me and you're surrounded by phones. It could be collaboration, which is a soft phone, which hopefully you take Mike and ET&T up on the offer to see a demo of that. But the collaboration in the web browser could be a device. Your tablet could be a device. Your mobile, the app on your mobile phone could be a device. So personally, the best way to think about that is I like to explain how I work here at home, which is I have a physical device next to me. I usually work out of my browser, collaboration out of a browser, but I also have the mobile app on my phone. So those are 3 different devices right there, but you can mix and match those. You can use multiple at the same time. So you have a lot of flexibility in how you would like to communicate.
Great.
And last but not least, we had a few people ask, are their current numbers portable?
Always one of the first questions people ask. More than likely they are, especially in today's world and environment. The caveat to that is every now and again, there's some strange, outlier cases. But the best way to do it is if you're considering a change in providers is to work with Mike and his team at ET&T, give them a list of the DIDs or telephone numbers that you would like to port, and then they can check the portability of said numbers. They'll come back and say, yep, these are more than likely. They'll come back and say, yeah, these are all portable over to us. If they're not, then at least you know, and you can make the appropriate plans for that.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, any other questions out there? I don't see any, but appreciate your help, Matt, and giving a great presentation on Wildix. And we'll reach out to all you attendees to schedule your demos. Thanks a lot. Appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.